Hello there Level 2s, Steve here. Today I'm going to be taking you through the camshaft task which is in your IMI portfolio. The engine I'm going to be doing this on is this Ford Zetec engine. Please watch the video all the way through and this will help to enable you to complete the task when you get to return back to college after the COVID-19 lockdown ends. Thanks for watching. So the first thing we're going to do is remove this water pump pulley. By removing the water pump pulley, it will give us better access to removing the upper camshaft cover. Next thing we're going to do is remove the timing belt cover. So the next thing we need to do is remove this cast aluminium lump which is bolted to the front of the engine, and this would have formed a part of the engine mount. Once those stages have been complete, we're going to remove this plastic cover which covers the spark plugs and the coil leads. Then the camshaft cover, or the rocker cover, will be removed next to reveal the camshafts and the camshaft carrier caps. There's a bung located on the lower left-hand side of the engine. You need to be able to remove this bung to be able to insert a timing pin into this hole. First thing I'm going to do is turn the crank anti-clockwise 10 degrees. By doing that, will allow me to be able to insert the timing pin into the side of the engine block. Insert the pin into the side of the engine block. It should screw in nice and freely by hand until it won't go no more. Then turn the crankshaft carefully until you feel that the crankshaft is locked against the pin. So with the crankshaft locked in position, I'm now going to insert the camshaft locking bar, which is situated at the back of the cylinder head. You can see here there is a slot in which the bar will slide into on the camshaft, and the bar will sit flat on the cylinder head. Now, as we can see, the bar doesn't freely slide into the slot in the camshaft. This indicates to me that when the task was done last, the timing was not set up correctly. So, with this in mind, when we rebuild the engine, we need to make sure that the timing is set perfectly. Using an impact gun, I'm now going to remove the bottom pulley off of the crankshaft. After that, the lower timing belt cover can be removed, revealing all of the timing belt. Then you can undo the bolt holding the tensioner, release tension from the timing belt and remove. The reason we use a locking pin to hold the crankshaft is because this bottom pulley does not use a Woodruff key to lock it to the crankshaft. So therefore it spins freely and relies upon the compression from the crank pulley to hold it in place. As you can see on the camshaft here, there are machined flat surfaces to enable a spanner to go onto it to be able to undo and remove the pulleys from the camshafts. For the next stage of the task, we're going to be removing the camshaft carrier caps that secure the camshaft to the cylinder head. As you're undoing these, you need to take very special precautions with undoing the caps. You need to undo them all with even pressure so as you're not just removing a single cap at a time. This is important because with the valves forcing back up to the underside of the camshaft, if you were just to remove the caps in order, being 1, 2, 3, 4, a lot of stress would be put on camshaft cap number 5, which could potentially break the cap or could potentially break the camshaft. So you need to be very, very careful that you undo them in a specific order so you're relieving the pressure as you go. When removing the camshaft caps, it is highly essential to keep them in order. Because the way that the camshaft operates by spinning at very high speeds within these camshaft caps, they wear to the face of the camshaft cap. If you put them on in the wrong order when refitting, it could potentially cause the camshaft to get hot and causing the camshaft to seize in the engine, leading to catastrophic engine failure. So as you remove them, place them down on a workbench in order the way you took them off. We can now remove our camshaft. With the camshaft now removed, we are able to check the various surfaces of the camshaft for any wear. You have bearing journals situated here, 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 and here. You have your camshaft lobes, 8 in total, 2, 4, 6, 8. These camshaft lobes, as you can see, have a lobe shape to them. That is what pushes against the back of the valve and opens the valve. When inspecting the camshaft, you're looking for any pitting on any bearing surfaces or camshaft lobes. You're also looking for very bad scratch marks, blue heat spots, and any signs that the camshaft may be at fault or close to failing. As I can see by inspecting this camshaft, there's no indications on it that it is worn, is wearing, or there's any damage to it. Being happy with the camshaft, I'm going to be reinserting it into the engine. Now, one thing you need to bear in mind with the camshaft is on the end where we use to time it, you can see the slot cut into the back that the locking bar fits into. And as you can see, this is off center. So please make sure that when you reinsert it, you make sure that the smaller section faces upwards. So once you have done your inspections on the camshaft and you are happy with it, don't forget to put in your write-up the results of your inspection. If you found no faults with it, then you need to indicate that on your job card. If you do find a fault with it, then please notify in the job card. So I'm going to reinsert the camshaft. I'm checking where the line is. I'm going to sit it loosely down in the bearing journals. Make sure that the oil seal is sat in the correct position. I'm then going to loosely sit all of the bearing caps back on in the order that they were removed. And you only need to use a very small amount of pressure on the ratchet to avoid damaging a camshaft cap. Okay. Next stage, we're going to be torquing camshaft caps to the desired torque as found on Haynes Pro. And that is torquing the camshaft caps. Then if you take your camshaft sprockets and position them back onto the camshafts, one thing to bear in mind for this particular type of engine, because it doesn't use woodruff keys, to keep these pulleys loose so they can rotate freely so we can set the timing. Once we've got both pulleys back on and they rotate freely, with the sprockets back in position and turning freely, we're then going to reinstall the timing belt, checking it for any wear and any signs of premature failure. Once happy with the belt, start at the crankshaft and go up the non-tension side, around the camshaft pulleys, and then around the tensioner, like so. Now with this engine, being as it doesn't have any Woodruff keys, we need to ensure that the engine is locked in position before we continue. So the crankshaft is still against the timing pin, which is still inserted in the side of the block. We're then going to take our spanner, which is a 21mm, and we're going to turn the camshafts manually and insert the bar until they are in the correct position, like so. With those in place, with the locking pin in place and the locking bar in place, we can now go ahead and tension the timing belt. We do this by inserting an Allen key and putting pressure on the tensioner until the little pointer goes between the two marks. As you can see in this clip, as I tension the belt, you can see the pointer go to the correct position. You then take your ratchet and you secure the tensioner. What I also then do is refit the lower timing belt cover. And then I will put back on the lower crankshaft pulley and very, very carefully wind the bolt in and just secure it. Now the compression from this pulley will hold the crankshaft sprocket in place. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to tighten up the camshaft sprockets. I'll give them a little pinch. Make sure you use the spanner so it avoids putting excess pressure on the rear of the camshafts where the locking bar is in place. Before I torque them, I'm going to make sure that the engine is timed up correctly. To do this, I'm going to remove the locking bar from the rear of the camshafts and remove the locking pin off the bottom of the block. I'm then going to take my 1/2 inch ratchet and socket, and I'm going to turn the engine over twice by hand. In the real world, you would still do this just to make sure that you had no piston to valve interference, that the timing marks line back up, and that you have adequate bounce tension. So I'm going to turn the engine over carefully by hand, 90 degrees on the cams, 180 on the cams. Okay, now I'm starting to approach the point at which the locking pin needs to be inserted. So I'm going to reinsert the locking pin on the crankshaft. Then with the crankshaft against the locking pin, I'm going to check that the engine is timed correctly on the camshafts at the rear. The flat bar that locks the camshafts in place should fit into the rear of the camshafts like so. This indicates to me, with after turning the engine over, the crank pin has reinserted and the crank is against the pin, and this flat bar has reinserted into the rear of the camshafts. This tells me that this engine in particular is timed up as per manufacturer specifications. So therefore the engine is timed and the engine can now be rebuilt. So the first thing we need to do when reassembling the engine is to torque the camshaft sprockets to specification as found on Haynes Pro. Remember to use the spanner on the flats on the camshaft to avoid excessive pressure and breakages on the camshaft. They are now torqued and locked in position. So next, the rocker cover can be refitted. Now for the next and final stages of the task, I'm going to refit the upper engine mount, the timing belt cover and the water pump pulley. Okay, so that's doing the camshaft task for your IMI portfolio. Hopefully watching this video has given you a better understanding of the task you need to undertake when you return to college, and hopefully it's given you a good opportunity to be able to come back in and carry out the task effectively with a bit more of an insight to knowing what you need to do. If you have any questions on this video, please contact me via Teams, and feel free to watch it as many times as you want. It's here for you to learn from, okay? Thanks for watching.